Here with me right now, former Army intelligence and special ops veteran Brett Velikovich and presidential historian Doug Weed. Good to have you both here. What do you think about this, given your intelligence background, given what you know about how they had a bunch of opposition research, went to a judge, got a FISA warrant, spied on innocent Americans? It may have been political. That's what we're trying to determine right now. But when you look back, and again, you have an intelligence background, and you think about what the Russians were trying to do all along, what do you think really went down in 2016?
Trish, look, it's never been more clear to me than it is now that the Obama administration prioritized spying on a political opponent over national security. Okay, they had 2 years of advanced knowledge about this, that the Russians were engaged in a covert war campaign against America. Okay, from 2014 to 2016, the Obama administration regularly received intelligence briefings from national security officials that said the Russians were stepping up their intelligence operations. They were starting to build out disinformation networks, specifically targeting U.S. political structure. And they've known about this for so long, but yet they did nothing about it. They instead wanted to, instead of focusing and taking aggressive action on information that was verified, vetted, multiple sources telling them this was happening, they instead seized on information from unvetted sources with the Steele dossier. And to me, it's a failure on the president, the former president, to defend the country and instead whistle past the real threat. And I think we're worse off as a country because of it.
Is it because Obama's departments, I mean the Justice Department, FBI, were they overly politicized in your view? Perhaps because just the tenor of that environment for 8 years under President Obama, who I would remind everybody had that great community organizer background, but no actual business experience or really any real world experience, Doug?
Well, I agree totally with what he said. It's amazing to me how the Democrats even today are pushing this confrontation with Russia. I agree with what Biden was saying in 2012. I mean, Russia today has a 16% tax rate. They have arguably...
You agree with what Biden was saying in 2012?
Yes, he was saying in 2012 we need to get along with Russia and not make her our enemy, drive us into conflict. If we treated Russia like any other nation, they might be able to help us with North Korea and help us in the Middle East. Instead, we treat them like the communists are still in power, that there's 3 million people in the gulags.
Well, you're talking about two different things, because on the one hand, I get you, right? Like maybe, you know, what are they, you keep your enemies close, right? That kind of thing. But we shouldn't be naive about the fact that they were trying to manipulate things. And, you know, it cracks me up because, Doug, they were doing all this, right? Obama didn't care. Joe Biden didn't care. And now, you know, when it all came out, Hillary Clinton, she's still saying the Russians cost her the election. I mean, which is it? You can't have it both ways.
You can't have it both ways. I totally agree with that. And we've got to pursue this and follow it to the end. Yeah. The point I'm making is the Democrats were all for the Russians when they were communists, when it was against the law to own a Christmas tree. And now that Russia has changed, they don't want to cooperate or work with them. Every nation has embassies and they have ambassadors, and their job as an ambassador is to influence that country and influence the leadership of that country.
Right. Right. No, I hear you on that. But I guess the question now is, where do we go from here? Because if you watch the mainstream media, Brett, they're saying, okay, we got to go after the president. He's got to be impeached. You know, maybe he's, you know, there are people saying some people have to go to jail if they're not going to be telling the truth in front of Congress. They want to get everybody out there and trot them all out there for what? For something that was never a crime to begin with, for something that never even happened. I still keep going back to, don't we need to find out who's responsible for leaking internally within the FBI? Don't we need to hear more from Nellie and Bruce Orr about the document itself that kicked all this off?
Of course we do. I mean, we need to know where this started. I mean, it probably started when President Obama had that conversation with the Russian president at the time when he said, after 2012, I'll have more flexibility. Maybe he meant the flexibility was looking past the fact that they were going to start engaging in this covert warfare. I mean, I liken these attacks, these cyber warfare attacks on our political system, to basically a terrorist attack. Okay, when we would get information prior to a terrorist attack, we would disseminate that information widely. We would do everything we could to stop it from happening. That's exactly what you do. You want to stop it from happening. You don't want it to go through, but yet they sit there and just watch because they thought, Hillary was going to win. And that's the issue with all of this, is that's why they didn't want to do anything about it.
And so, then they cry after the fact.
Well, I don't know if you saw today about Christopher Wray with the FBI.
Yes,
he's now stepping up the counterintelligence side of it, and that's what he should have done.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Brett, good stuff. Thank you so much. Please come back. Doug, I'll see you soon.
If you want to get in so bad, why did he take so long? Joe Concha writes about the media for everyone that asked, especially the Hill. He joins us now live from a studio, which is very close to his house. Hey, Joe, first off, is it surprising he got such positive reviews after 3 weeks ago? The touchy-feely Joe didn't really explain himself too well?
Surprising? Is that a rhetorical question, Brian? I believe it is. Yeah, look, The View, amazingly, falls under ABC's news division. That's not even seen as an entertainment show, so I'll just leave that there. And I watched this interview today, and I didn't hear any questions in terms of who is Joe Biden. He has been in politics for nearly 40 years, and I honestly don't know what's at his core. And in the end, Hillary Clinton made this mistake, because we saw that in those clips that you played. As a Democrat, you can't just say, Donald Trump's a bad guy, I'm a good guy, or in Hillary's case, a good woman, and if you vote for me, that's good enough. No, people want to know what you're going to do to improve their lives. What's his position in terms of improving health care, immigration, the opioid crisis, in terms of raising taxes? Will you raise taxes or not raise taxes? What's your position on infrastructure and so on? So I want to hear those questions. I don't want to see what I saw today. I'm not surprised by it. And there are actually 2 Republicans that are on that panel. And I get with Meghan McCain why she would want to endorse Biden, considering her father's relationship with Mr. Biden. But at the same time, look, he's going to have to do some interviews with some tough people in some tough places if he expects to be president of the United States and answer the kind of questions that I would pose that I just laid out just now.
Joe, look, he's been in the business for 36 years since he was 28 years old. I get it. It's going to be tough. Maybe it's a decision you made in 1984 you wouldn't make in 2019. Totally understandable. But if Donald Trump teaches you anything, it's don't run from it. Embrace it, explain it, but don't apologize for it. I'm not sure what he's doing about 2 controversial things. The Anita Hill situation, as well as the touchy-feeling trend. He hasn't really apologized. He addressed it. And the other thing he did, he mocked right after he addressed it in his poorly done Instagram video. So far, in terms of damage control, you can't give him an A.
Oh, no, you can't. He has been in crisis mode for the past 2 months before he even ran, right? And with Anita Hill, I mean, doesn't anybody on The View or anybody else who interviews him going forward, didn't anybody find that completely disingenuous that only after he announced that he decides to apologize to Anita Hill? What was that? Nearly 30 years ago? He hasn't had the time since then, or even when he was running for vice president? So to do that now and say, hey, I'm running for president, I think I feel bad about what I did, I'm sorry. That comes across as phony. Right. And what we've learned, at least from Donald Trump winning, Brian, is that people embrace authenticity. Good and bad or ugly, but be authentic. Don't be that guy.
And what happened is he picked up the phone, he called Anita Hill. It's a disaster. She gave an interview to the New York Times where it said, I essentially don't accept his apology, and he didn't really apologize. What are they upset about? He didn't vote for Clarence Thomas. What did he do? Evidently, he didn't tell the truth, according to her, about when she'd get to testify. It was not going to be first. She thought it was last. She wasn't allowed to bring up people to verify her story. So just go out and explain what you were doing as chairman with a Republican nominee and move on, because nobody wants to relitigate. We barely remember the story. I'm not saying it wasn't important, but if you're a politician and you have a staff and he's got money, he should be able to answer these questions. I mean, the other 19 contenders aren't seeing the undefeated heavyweight champ right now.
And good for Anita Hill, by the way, for not falling in line and doing what she was supposed to do, which was accept it so Joe Biden can get past this hurdle. Look, for people that are worried that Joe Biden's going to get a free ride from the media, Brian, here's all you need to know. Before the 2016 election, 59 papers, major ones, offered their endorsements. 57 went to Hillary Clinton. 2 went to Donald Trump. That got Hillary Clinton a concession speech. So that's all you need to know in terms of influence of our media today, at least on the political side. And look, the bottom line is that as far as the media putting their finger on the button for Joe Biden. We saw it, obviously, with Hillary Clinton. It simply doesn't work because half the country does not trust the messenger. It's all white noise. The punditry and the predictions mean nothing to the American people. They'll decide what happens here from debates and a concise message which Biden needs to establish. Besides, Trump is a bad guy.
And Joe, I got to let you go, but you understand how controversial it's going to be for him when he did not know how to greet the hosts. He said, I didn't know what to do, to shake your hand, to give you a hug, to give you a kiss, because we're friends. But with Joe Biden to win in 2019, he can't be Joe Biden. That could be a problem. Joe, you're released to go party and go to the club is right near your house like you do every Friday night. Appreciate it.
In Jersey, there's nothing like it, Brian, quite frankly.
I know, absolutely. Don't go to Manhattan. You'll get yourself in trouble. Joe Concha.
Probably.